Welcome back. Well, pharma stocks, they've been gaining in trade today, and this is our big story of the day. Reports indicate tariff relief for generics. Ekta is joining us with more details on what these reports are suggesting. Ekta.
Well, yes, I'm going to start with basically what the news is. There is news which is circulating that the Trump administration is not planning to impose tariffs on generic drugs from foreign companies. The administration is also not actively discussing imposing Section 232 of tariffs against generic pharmaceuticals. Now, just to give you a little bit of background, the US has been concerned about the dependence on foreign manufacturing for pharmaceutical APIs. Generics, remember, supply 90% of drug volumes in the US. India comprises of 40 to 50% of generic prescriptions by volume. Nearly 2 out of 5 generics are made by Indian companies in the US. They comprise of 40 to 50% of US FDA drug approvals per year. They have 650 US FDA approved facilities, which is the largest outside of the US, and India also supplies 25 to 30% of APIs to the US. Some Chinese APIs supply up to 80 to 90% of certain critical components when it comes to the drug supply. Now, the administration has been worried about this kind of dependency, and the administration has been weighing duties on pharma drugs and APIs under Section 232. Section 232 is used to investigate whether imports of products threaten to impair national security. If so, one can impose tariffs or other restrictions to protect national security. So as of now, what we learn is that it is not being actively discussed, that's Section 232, and they're not planning to impose tariffs on generic drugs from foreign countries as of now. So this is basically a relief which is coming for pharmaceutical companies in India.
And what is the key reason that explains why the administration is looking at sparing the Indian generics?
That's because the entire space is so dependent on Indian generics. So Indian generics, what we manufacture in terms of a manufacturing cost is 1/8 or 1/5 versus what takes place in the US or Europe. Generic drugs are 80 to 90% cheaper than what patented drugs are in the US. And margins for highly competitive drugs are between 10 to 20%, and for more competitive drugs at anywhere up to 50%. Now, tariffs, if you impose tariffs on these kind of drugs, it can raise costs, and making generics would then become expensive, and for some companies it will become unviable. If those companies stop manufacturing and say that, making this particular drug is unviable for me, it can lead to drug shortages in the US. And hence, that is something that the administration would want to completely avoid, because that leads to a rise in terms of costs and obviously shortages of drugs. Secondly, building supply chains and building that kind of infrastructure in the US takes time, and it will also increase costs. So it's not something which is a near-term plan which can be executed immediately. It's a longer-term plan which they have to execute.
So what is the Trump administration focusing on now after all these changes that have come back?
Yes, absolutely. So what the Trump administration now is focusing on is that they're looking at branded drugs. Remember, in September of 2025, the Trump administration slapped 100% tariff on branded pharma drug imports unless the company is building a plant in the US. Companies, however, are understanding the mandate that has been given by the Trump administration. For example, Trump announced a deal with Pfizer. Pfizer will be lowering their drug costs with Medicaid in the Medicaid program to match, the most favored nation prices. Eli Lilly is investing around $27 billion over a period of time. J&J is investing $55 billion over 4 years. Novartis, $23 billion. Roche, around $50 billion. All this over a span of 4 to 5 years. Indian companies are also sort of towing the line now. So Ipca Labs, remember, announced a partnership with Biosimilar Sciences in Puerto Rico. Lupin announced a $250 million investment in a manufacturing facility in Florida today. Aurobindo has acquired Lannett for $250 million, adding a CGMP facility in the US. So they all understand that they need to have a manufacturing presence in the US, but the US administration also understands that they cannot impose tariffs on generics, and hence this is coming as a relief and an overhang really which has been lifted.
You can see that the Nifty Pharma Index are 1%, and individual stocks we've been showing that, the Aurobindo Pharmas, etc. Thanks, Ekta, for explaining that so well. Get into a break, more on the market. Stay tuned.